We're
Hey everyone,
live.
how you all doing? Andy Holt here. Today I've got a really good guest, a guy who I've known for some time. So I'm interviewing Jaren Scott. Hello, Jaren.
Howdy.
Yeah,
How's
so
everyone doing today?
very good, very good. We've met each other. We met each other about a few months ago, was it? And
I think it's been more than a few months. It's been what more than half a year now, going on a year, something like that. We've known each other for a minute. We go way back.
yeah, yeah, that's so. Just as an introduction, then, I mean, first time I ever saw you, Jaren, I've been following you for quite a while actually. The first time I ever come across you, I was actually searching YouTube about just looking at fitness content and things like this. And you popped up on, I think it was on like Rich Cooper's show or something like that, and you were absolutely
Might have been
massive at
that,
the
yeah.
point. And I think
Yeah.
I remember listening and listening to your approach on how you stay sort of lean and controlling carbs and all that. And I always thought, yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff to sort of talk about. And then I think I obviously met Joel, and then I think Joel introduced me to you, and then we started following each other on Instagram. And then I found out you guys are sort of in the same city.
Yeah,
So
Joel was actually my roommate and channel manager. So, yep, we are more than in the same city. We are in the same residence.
yeah, yeah. So you've been at like I know you've been helping Joel, haven't you, for a bit in terms of his training and things.
Yeah, he put on 15 pounds, I think, in his first 15 weeks or so. That was pretty aggressive,
Wow.
and I was doing it with him. I put on mass very easily. So after week 6, I had put on 6 pounds, and that used to be in my early days of bulking. It used to be 1 pound of lean muscle mass gain per 1 pound of body fat gain. Now it's not so much. It's like nice lean muscle mass. So I got to the
Yeah.
point where I'm like, all right, I've got 6 pounds lean muscle mass on. I'll probably lose 1 or 2 pounds in the cut. I don't do bulk cut cycles anymore, and wanted to essentially, when I'm at 10% body fat, I'm usually 184 pounds. So I was like, all right, if I could be between 186 and 190 pounds at 10% body fat, that's where I want to settle. So I'm on the way to doing that right now. I'm actually leaning out
Okay.
at the moment. So yeah, not as big, not as much,
I
whatever.
don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, just a quick one for the viewers. They'll all be wondering about the thumbnail. I thought we'd have a bit of a laugh about that to start with,
Yeah, let's
because
do it. That
I
is
when we
AI.
thumbnail,
I'm not a
yeah.
Barbie doll or a Ken doll.
I mean, it's crazy. It looks like your abs are drawn on. I mean, but it
It
is,
will look
not
like that here
quite
soon.
big.
By I think June 1 is my goal date to get to that next level of leanness. Because when you're training, you're always looking to get to that next level. When you do your first bulk cut cycle, you can put on something like 15 pounds of new lean muscle mass well,
Yeah.
if you have a body like mine, I'm more endomorphic. So I can usually put on 15 pounds in my very first bulk. A lot of that was fat, had to get it off, lost a lot of that
Okay.
muscle mass because I didn't know how to cut correctly. But as you get going in your personalized fitness journey, then there's always that next level. And for me, the next level is never to be like a bodybuilder or put all sorts of crazy stuff in my body. It was really just to max out my genetic blueprint and then just try to dial it in leanness wise. And then I'm at the point now in my physique development where it's cutting things out. It's like, okay, I don't need to take that supplement anymore. I don't need to take this
Mhm.
anymore. I don't need to train as hard. But I've been at it for almost 20 years now.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. So, like, in terms of what you're doing with Joel, then, just to help Joel out, what are you doing then to get him to put on the weight? Are you feeding him, or
Feeding
like
him.
just
Yeah,
feeding him,
I think he
training
wants to
hard?
kind of lean out a bit too, because it is, and it really depends on what your budget permits, your schedule permits, and what you want to do. So I think for him, it got to the point it was a bit unfeasible just eating all those calories a day. So he's more
Okay.
on the ectomorphic side, which in the
Mm,
space is known kind of more like a lean gainer. So it takes him a
mm.
lot more effort and energy calorically to put on mass. Whereas for me, if I go into a slight surplus, then I'm packing on mass, and I'm packing on mass very
Okay.
quickly.
Well, so you can balloon quite quick then? Just
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think
What's the heaviest
I'm
you've
at
been?
prior to the fitness thing. So my peak fatness is what I call it. I was at 285 pounds.
Wow.
I cut down to 190 or so. I didn't really have much muscle to speak of at that
Mm,
point. And this is kind of disheartening. Sometimes I'll get guys that contract me for coaching. I'm really good at helping guys lose significant amounts of weight. And then how do you manage to lose skin? How do you update your mindset? How do you form that new identity that you're no longer the fat person anymore, looking back at
mm,
yourself in the mirror? So it's disheartening for a lot of these guys. I'll tell them like, hey, congratulations, you've lost 100 pounds, but you're still fat. You're still 20% body fat. So I was kind of at that
yeah.
point when I got down to 190, as I mentioned earlier, started doing the bulk cut cycle thing. And then as I got older, I just dialed it in a lot more, realizing I don't have to do anything extreme anymore. It's just minimally viable dose,
Mm.
minimally viable stimuli in the gym. So my workouts are real abbreviated, 20, 40 minutes a day, usually 5 times a week. Sometimes I'll reduce that down to 2 or 3 times a week and then just do the same volume within those. So you start to learn these things as you get going on.
Okay, so in terms of with your kind of training routine, then, if you're only doing sort of 40 minutes, what are you looking at there? Intensity, speed, what, how are you doing it? You're trying to go for like strength or cramming the sort of sets in that time? It's quite a small window that. I know some people
Yep.
claim to only work 40 minutes, but is that with the warm up or just training time?
My warm up is walking or jogging to and from the gym. So warm up is
Okay.
walking or jogging to the gym. Cool down is walking home from the gym. So, and I live in Mexico City, perfect weather all year round. So it's enough to warm me up. I will do my first set real light, like sets of 40 to 50 or something like that with girl weight pretty
Yeah.
much just to get the blood flow into the area I'm targeting that day. So what I did actually, I got to the point in my development to where I realized I hired a professional bodybuilding coach years ago in California during the pandemic. Actually, they closed all the gyms, and he converted his detached garage to a gym. And then I just spent pretty much all summer training. There's nothing else really going on. They closed down our beaches
Yeah.
even. So, what would take me a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half or so, I realized, okay, we did the progressive overload, but you'll realize you can only do progressive overload for so long, because
Mm.
if the human body were to allow you to continually do progressive overload and you just always get stronger and there's no high end, then, well, I've been in the gym for 20 years. I would have gorilla strength. It would be stupid numbers, but the body doesn't let you do that. So I did the progressive overload, got to the point at my genetic max where I wanted to be, and then realized, okay, well, I don't want to add stuff to the routine in terms of like steroids or anything like that. So I hit that genetic ceiling, and then I maintained there. So then the idea was, okay, how do we do the same amount of volume for less? And you can do that. So you
Mm.
can so I started working on reducing my rest time windows. They used to be
Okay.
2 to 3 minutes, then maybe it was 2 minutes, then it was a minute 30, then it was a minute, and now my rest time is 15 to 30 seconds. So I'm still
Right.
lifting the same volume and the same actual weight.
How do you do that? Is that right? So that's a version of progressive overload. I mean, progressive overload to
Yep.
me, there's many different ways you can add weight, you can add extra
Exactly.
reps, you
Most
can
people think it's just adding weight, but there's multiple
right
variables: time under tension, rest time, total
rest time.
training volume, and the actual weight that you're adding to your sets week over
Okay.
week, day over day, split over split. So you can adjust any of those variables. I
Mm,
I barely rest anymore. So okay, if I want to get more of a stimuli, well, I can go up in weight now. I can increase time under tension. I can increase my total training volume. I can decrease my training volume and increase the weight. So there's multiple variables you can
yeah,
play
yeah, yeah.
with. And I'm always playing with it, because usually after about 90 days, or I like to say 8 to 12 weeks on a split,
Mm,
your body's very efficient. It gets to the point to where, hey, it's dialed in, and then you're
yeah.
not stimulating as much. So I'm usually on the same plan volume wise. I had
Mm,
someone text me earlier, an ex-girlfriend of mine, just like, hey, I started doing this new routine and my neck hurts and I'm getting all these sores. I'm like, well, don't be doing lifts that's going to injure your body. So you'll get these ego lifters. And I was like that too when I was first in the gym.
yeah, I've
Oh,
done that.
what's your
Done
max?
loads.
What's your max? My deadlift max was 505 by 5. Guess what? Number 6. Lucky I didn't slip a disc in my back. Had some sloppy form, rolled my back, dropped it on myself, and I couldn't walk for a month. So guess what? No heavy
Yeah,
deadlifts anymore. Does that make me less of a weightlifter? Sure, if you lift with your ego and you don't know how your body works, but I've got a physique to prove that I'm doing all right. So I do a lot of cable stuff now. I do a lot of
Yeah.
easy on the joints, tendons, ligaments, but still adjusting the multiple variables within that progressive overload model. Again, whether it be the time under tension, reducing the rest time, increasing the weight, or playing around with the total training volume.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, on the ego lifting, I've done that, you know, Jaren, where
It's
you
fun.
sort of focused on the
But you get
one
injured.
rep max. But once you've done that, you know, that 1 rep or 1, 2, 3 reps, whatever you're going to do, that really short, sort of heavy, for me, it tends to shatter me out. I couldn't do anything after it. I was so shattered. I couldn't even do another set. So,
For
like,
me, on bench, I've never successfully done 3 plates on each side of my life, which would be
oh,
315 pounds. I think my
yeah,
max is 305 or 310, whatever that ended up being. But once I break 300, this shoulder, I injured it years ago in a surfing accident. It's always fine. It clicks sometimes, but it's a dry click. There's no injury, no pain, no whatever. It just got dislocated. I had to pop it back in, but it clicks and it clacks sometimes. Once I break that 300 threshold for the 1 rep max, then this shoulder is just agonizing in pain. So I don't break 300 anymore. I can incline bench 225 for reps all day long, which if you
wow,
do
that's
the,
level.
so you can look at 1 rep max calculators. So, okay,
Right.
225 by 10 is equivalent to whatever that number is by 1. So you can reverse engineer that number too. Science is your friend when it comes to training and fitness. It's all just science. Your body will do exactly what you throw at it. And I realized, okay, I don't have a huge 1 rep max bench press, but most guys that have even hundreds of pounds more than me on bench press, they can't rep 225 for 10. So I don't really care. And again, I'm more now in my journey, anti-aging, longevity, flexibility, mobility. These are all, training in general is just an investment in your long-term health.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy, that, Jaren. I mean, I can't. When I'm benching, I was told by my trainer that I've got arms like a gorilla. They're really, I mean, you can't see them now, but they're
Me too.
that long.
Mine are really long, and I have a wide, broad, thick torso. So I look kind
Yeah.
of like a gorilla.
So when you got long arms, I think the best bench press champions, they've all got short arms, haven't they? You know what I mean? Because they're not moving that far. You know, the leverage. So I've always struggled with bench press. Me,
I have a
nothing like
brother
your
built
weight.
a gorilla, and he has a different physique than I do. So when we were in high school, he set our high school bench press record was 365 or something crazy like
Wow.
that. And as an adult, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna beat his record. I still never touched his record, but at my age, I have a very nice looking physique, so I'm not too concerned about my 1 rep bench press max, and nor is anyone else really. Every now and then, I will attempt to do 3 plates again on the bar, and all the guys at the gym, they come
Yeah.
over and look. So down here, I live in Mexico City full time, so the people just kind of, I think it's virtue of their diet, their routine, their exercise, the fitness culture, access to resources and knowledge, and genetics
Hmm.
plays a huge part of it. They're not as big just naturally in terms of the tall stature and then the broad bone structure. When I was fat, people used to say, "Oh, you're not fat, you're big boned." And then for a while, when I started losing the weight, it's like, "Oh, I can't believe they told me that. It's a bunch of BS." Well, I do DEXA scans and densitometry reports all the time. And from a scientific method, yes, I have big bones. Very, very 99th percentile bone mineral content. I have a very wide rib cage, a very wide pelvis. So my frame sits nicely on top of that. And really, when you have that, you don't have to be super duper strong. I train now most of the time with, I call them girl weights, but for an average person, I'm still very strong. But for someone who's more in the competitive space, I'm actually not that strong. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I know how to adjust those variables to work for me. And at the end of the day, your body at the muscular fiber level, your body doesn't know what the weight is on the bar. It just wants to be broken down to have that hyper compensatory effect when you're in your recovery phase.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. So, like on that technique that you're doing now, one of the variables where you're shutting down the rest window, that reminds me of. Have you ever tried
It's
training with a
cardio too.
girl? Yeah, it's like yeah, but have you ever tried training with a girl? Like their recovery time is tiny, and guys usually need a minute or two, don't they? You know, to recover.
Yeah.
And if you try training with a girl, it knackers you out really quickly just because they have a really short, like 30-second, and that's
Yeah.
essentially what you're doing. So
It's like a circuit when you train with
yeah,
when you train with chicks.
it must be almost like almost like a cardio workout or something like CrossFit, where you're just squeezing it in one after another, boom, boom, boom. I mean, so are you then getting the same amount of volume just in a shorter window, just by tightening up the
Yep.
rest period, still training the same way?
Yep, still training the same way. I should
Right.
have pulled it out with me. And then whenever I'm trying out new variables, I log everything too. So currently I'm on a
Yeah.
maintenance plan. I'm not logging anything. I just kind of lift on the feels. I look in the mirror every day. I don't worry about scale weight too much because you will
Okay.
have fluctuations on the day to day due to fluid retention, inflammation, bloating, that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
so in my logs, whenever I'm testing a new variable, or
Yeah.
a variable against a constant variable, then that's when I'll track everything. I'll plug it into spreadsheets and then see how my body reacted. But the last year, actually, about a year,
Hmm.
I've tested a few different theories, and it turns out no matter what I do, my body stays the same. So I also have a theory that I believe you can get to the point where you have a baseline or a set point for your body, and the human body is designed to stay in homeostasis. So, and I knew this when I was younger, when I was just getting in the fitness journey. It's like, okay, bring my baseline to this point, and then you set new goals and milestones, you adjust different variables, you track everything. And then eventually when you get to the point to where no matter what you do, you're at that new baseline, then it's time to start examining new variables and new considerations in your diet, recovery, and fitness routine. So I've done that for so
Hmm.
long. I have so many spreadsheets that really the last year, it was the greatest revelation to me is no matter what I do, here I am. I don't really have to do much anymore. So then this last year, it was more so. That's why I mentioned I work out 20 to 40 minutes usually per session if I'm doing 5 days a week. Sometimes I'll reduce that down based on my calendar and my schedule. So sometimes it'll be one grueling full body workout per week. Well, that's a 3 or 4 hour session. Sometimes it'll be push pull legs. Sometimes it'll be upper lower. But as long as I hit my total training volume in certain periods of time, my body doesn't really care if it's every day, if it's one day, if it's 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever per week. Because at the
Yeah.
scientific
Okay.
level, you're still hitting your total training volume. Same thing for losing weight. You need to be in a caloric deficit. So a lot of people, okay, it's 500, 800 calories out a day. That's usually a good starting point. But I'll do more advanced things to where I'll do intermittent fasting, but I'll do extended fasts. I'll fast for a day or two. I've fasted up to 5 days before. Guess what?
Hmm.
5 days after eating food, if you eat 2 whole pizzas and a box of donuts, you're not going to get fat because you're in such a huge, steep caloric deficit in that 7 day time frame. So in my head, I just kind of run it back in the day when we used to have to balance our checking accounts. I just kind
Yeah.
of run where am I at calorically surplus wise or deficit wise? Where am I at total training wise or total volume? For usually I do it on a weekly basis, but sometimes I'm out of the gym for a few weeks because I had a medical procedure done here recently, and I'm actually out for a month. But I knew that I knew they were going to take me 3 weeks out of the gym. So the month leading up to it, I did 2 a days every single day. I just doubled everything. So my body still got all of that same stimuli. I probably overloaded it, but it's good because I created an increased hyper compensatory effect in the recovery phase. And now I'm taking a longer term. A lot of people think day to day, week to week, month to month. These are long term habits you're creating. And if I were to chart all of that out in a timeline on a spreadsheet, I've been at it for 20 years. So 3 weeks off, it's not going to make a major change to my physique. I do feel like I'm a little deflated. I do feel like I'm not as strong. I do have limited mobility in terms of what I can do fitness wise. I feel fine, but the surgeon, he's like, no, don't push it. He's like, because you have internal wounds and you don't want to you don't want to mess up organs and stuff like that. So and but I adjust my is what I'm getting at there.
So what? Sorry, I'm just trying to load up Instagram. I was wondering if you could just share, because I saw one of the photos of you where you looked absolutely massive. And
I'm going to look even better here by June 1st because I mean I'm always forthcoming with what my routine is. So I recently got a micro liposuction. I have abs year round, and I've had that for 7 or 8 years now. But when you lose 100 pounds of body fat, you do get a lot of loose skin. I managed to tighten it up naturally pretty well, but as you get older, you start to lose some of that collagen elasticity. So I called it a melted candle effect, to where six-pack, but I have just loose skin hanging over the side of my jeans. So I wanted to get that taken care of. The best surgeon here in Mexico who does all the Televisa and telenovela stars, he's here in my neighborhood. Followed him on Instagram. I've dated a few telenovela models that actually have had work done by him. When you get to that level in your dating life, you can just ask girls like, hey, I know that's not your natural stomach because I know fitness, but whoever did that did a really good job. Where'd you go? And everyone told me this guy. So followed his Instagram, saw a flash promotion. They had a surgery date open for my birthday. I was like, all right, I'll spend my birthday being put under. and I'm only a week into recovery, but I'm already starting to see real results. But the goal here, I only had half a kilo of fat to lose in my entire midsection and flanks. So it's very, very lean already. For those who say, oh, you cheated, you did liposuction. No, I've been at it for 20 years, but you will have flaccid skin if you lose 100 pounds of body fat. There's no way around it. Ideally, and my surgeon asked me, he's like, well, were you using a compression garment when you went on that weight loss run? I'm like, no, I didn't know any of that. I was 100 pounds overweight. Obviously, I don't know about more advanced fitness topics. So that was kind of a fun laugh. But now I'm wearing the compression garment. I took it off for this stream because it's extremely uncomfortable. But the goal is just to...
Is that where your skin can go kind of stringy? You know, you can just sort of pull it out because I find this, you know, when you get...
It's like a bat flap. Like literally I could take my belly, it's called the pannus. So your lower abdominal skin, I could take it, wrap it over my hand and get it to my gooch almost. Yeah. So there's a lot of loose skin.
You know, when you have, like you talked about the DEXA scan and that's one of the means to actually check out your body fat percentage. But another way is calipers, and you can just a pinch test. You know, when I did it with someone, when you've got low body fat, you can kind of pull it, and there's almost like no fat beneath your skin, and it feels like really dry and weird. And is that what you can see?
Yeah, you can see it, like, for example, on your forearm. There's absolutely no fat there. I'm actually holding a lot of fluid because I'm in a post-surgery diet right now, so they need low inflammation and high fluid retention, which is fine. I normally don't, but yeah, look at when you're lean, like forearm skin. I don't know what my camera's doing. Is it doing something goofy on your end?
Oh, it's all right. It's just froze a minute. I can still hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, you're just frozen at the minute. Don't worry, it's all right. You're not pulling a funny face or anything.
Yeah, it's usually a funny face because it's done it a couple times, and I've seen the freeze framed goofy face. Here, since you can't see me, go ahead and talk for a minute. I'll see.
Yeah, how do I share on here? If I can, I just want to try and find out if I can prevent share screen. Can I share screen? This one. Can you see? Is that coming through?
Yep, looks like.
Okay, so I just want to have a look at this one because I noticed this one here. This is Joel, obviously, and is this at the point when he's put on 15 kilos or?
What is the date? What does the timestamp or date stamp say on there?
17th of October looks like this one.
Oh, he was just week 2 or 3 into his bulk, and I believe he ran it for 15 weeks. Right up until the new year is when he ran his bulk. So, yeah, he put on a pound a week on average on that one. Again, that's not going to be lean muscle mass, but he's kind of a lean gainer, so he didn't get particularly fat either. You will have some fluid retention, especially if you're eating in a crazy surplus. So that probably happened. I think when he got off, he dropped a couple pounds. And then now I think his new baseline, again, I go by baseline because when you do bulk cut cycles, you're not going to keep it all. So his new baseline, I believe he's 8, 9, 10 pounds still up over when he came down here. And then, as I mentioned, I started on a mini bulk with him too, but I put on mass quick. So I was 3 weeks in, and I think I'd already put on a couple kilos at that point. And then you'll notice not as defined, a little more swole, but that's my natural body type.
To be honest, though, yeah, you're pretty big there, though. I mean, that looks pretty big. This is just looking at a few of what you've got. I think I noticed one further down as well. Wow, yeah, you got this kind of thing. What we're looking at here, you look quite lean there. It's quite a while ago. This is May 2021. So, yeah.
I think at that point I was training with the fitness coach in California.
Yeah. It's pretty big. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And this one.
I was big and lean at that point.
Yeah. Okay. So now, okay. So I'll stop sharing that. That's pretty good.
You
Yeah,
know
we're
what? I'm
back
gonna
in.
try
Your camera's
popping
gone
back
off
in
for
this.
me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try popping back in this room real quick. I don't know what happened to my main. Here we go.
There you go.
Is it working?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. A bit different aspect ratio, but yeah.
Oh, here we can throw it back on here.
Yeah,
It
cool.
keeps beeping at me. I don't know what it's doing. I always it's my iPhone that I use as a cam because it's got the high def, but I don't know what it's doing. I won't worry about it too much. But yeah, so in those photos, you can kind of see the progression. I don't have any before after photos of when I was at peak fatness. I should probably put a side by side or before after comparison there. But yeah, I was pretty big at one point, and not the good kind of big. I was just fat.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, looking at them though, so obviously you got quite a lot of muscle mass, and when you talk about at the minute, you're in sort of a maintenance. Are you generally maintaining your muscle? You talked about you're not doing any bulk and cut now.
No,
not at all.
Yeah, I haven't done bulk and cut cycles in years. With Joel, I did a mini bulk. Like what was it? I put on. I'm trying to think where was it? No, I think I put on 6 kilos in 6 weeks. Again,
Yeah.
a lot of that's fluid retention. Some of that's body fat. I do have a propensity to put on body fat when I'm getting bigger. And then after the new year, so typically when I did bulk and cut cycles, it was 3 months of a bulk that would lead into the holidays, especially coming into Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It's like, all right, I can actually eat because I'm training hard to do a bulk. And then January 1st, usually I was still drinking at the time. So usually I was hungover. That first week of January is when I'd start my cut. And then usually April 1 was the actual goal date to reach my cutting goals. But this time around, my goal was third week of February. And I think I calculated I had something like 6 pounds of body fat to lose. So that was 1 pound per week, which is a 3,500 calorie deficit by 7 days per week. That's only a 500 calorie deficit. That's not a big deficit. So I didn't even really have to cut because on my normal diet, I'm usually in a 1,000 calorie deficit Monday through Friday. And then weekends are wide open. I don't track, I don't do whatever, but I don't really do cheat days anymore either because eating a bunch of donuts or candy or sugar or stuff like that, it makes me feel sick. My body doesn't like it. So even on my free days, I probably just go around maintenance, maybe slightly over maintenance.
Do you know, last year when I did a cut, so I did a bulk, and when I started my cut, I thought I started it too early. I started it at the end of January, right? And by the time I got to about May, June, I had lost so much weight, and I didn't think, because obviously the first few weeks you lose like kilos of water, don't you?
It's water, yeah. Well, have you ever wrestled or done any fighting sports?
No.
I wrestled for 2 seasons in high school, and you can cut just water alone, sitting in the saunas, running laps with all your sweatshirts on and stuff like that. You can lose like 10-15 pounds of water. I think I wasn't peak fatness yet. I was like 210 maybe pounds or something like that, but I could get down usually close to that lower weight class.
Yeah, in about 4 or 5 months, so I lost about 14 kilos. So that's like, what's that like? Getting on for 30 pounds. You know what I mean? It's quite a lot.
2.2.
That was a lot. But I got really flipping lean, and I think this year, like, I'm going to do another mini cut. I'm still doing this, so I've not even started cutting yet. And where are we in April? I'm going to start. I'm at a heavy point again. So yeah, I'm going to go. So what do you do like for your, what's your idea of diet then? Because I know we've had a few chats about this, but where are you at with that? What are your absolute kind of must do things on diet?
Yeah, any given day, it's one meal a day, which is called OMAD, intermittent fasting. You'll see that abbreviated as IF if you look up that type of stuff or that eating protocol. It's 1 meal a day. So I wake up, I do 2 cups of black coffee, put a little stevia in there, no milk anymore. Now, before I lift, I do 2 scoops of protein. I don't necessarily know why. It's because it's technically because I'm training fasted. And I don't get that nice carb load pre-workout, but for me mentally, it's more so that I don't want to go anti-catabolic. I do other things as part of my routine that prevent that, which we'll get into here in a moment. But still, I think it's one of those things. I was a baseball player too growing up, so we get superstitious sometimes. It's like, all right, well, it works, so I'll do that. So it's 50 grams of protein, 50 grams of protein prior to working out, which is usually about midday for me. In the evening, what I do is my camera just froze again, it's driving me nuts. In the evening, what I do is typically I'll work all day. When you do intermittent fasting, you get really nice level energy. You don't have peaks and valleys. I'm ADHD diagnosed as a kid. Don't take any of those types of supplements. It's been a long time since I took Adderall or any of that stuff. So so it helps with the focus factor. It helps with the concentration.
We don't have that
yeah, you're more productive. And so I usually just go, I wake up, I immediately start working. If there's a gap in my schedule, I work out 20 to 40 minutes. The gym's a 10-minute walk away. So I need an hour time block in my schedule. I can squeeze that in at a point during the day. It's usually around the lunch hour at some time. And then I spend the rest of my day working. Afternoon, you get that endorphin rush when you're done lifting and like the nice pump. So you feel really good. I do my deep focus work. Coming into the end of the day, I play guitar for an hour. I'm also a singer, so you can't sing. You have to be fasted when you sing. Otherwise, your larynx, their muscles too, you can hurt yourself when you really start pushing it.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos with your guitar, Jaren. Everyone should go and check that, by the way.
I need some new ones. I'm actually a lot better. Those are 3 years old. So I'm actually training with a professional vocal coach, and she's a Mexican pop star down here.
Can I ask you a question about the guitar?
Millions of followers. Yeah. So
about the guitar, Jaren. Every time I watch you play guitar, you never have shoes on.
What's
that about? You've always got barefoot.
Oh yeah.
You're always barefooted when you play guitar.
Yeah, well, guitar's a workout too, because to sing properly, there's certain breathing techniques which also help in the gym as well. So I'll play guitar and sing for an hour, and then I'll start cooking something. I've been ordering out a lot lately too, but there's places here where they'll sell you 100 grams of pre-weighed, pre-cooked chicken breast. It's already pulled. And that works out really well. So I can just throw that in a pot. I can add a bit of tomato sauce, low sodium, chop up a bunch of vegetables, and we're off to the races. Or there's an Argentinian butcher here nearby. Great cuts of meat, good price. It's roughly $10 a kilo, but it's all organic and grass-fed and all that good stuff. Just nice, dark, dense red, tons of zinc and iron and those types of minerals type meat. And he trims every ounce of fat off of it. There's no visible fat before he puts it in the meat grinder. So I'll do that as a base too. Do a lot of chilies and stews and tacos and burritos and nachos and.
Well, yeah, you're lean meat. When I have a lot. We talked about this. 750 grams to a kilo of meat a day. Or what that's exactly what I try and aim for, just to get the solid protein. And I always think you should go for lean quality meats and try and get your fats from oils and nuts and avocados and plant based. You know what I mean? But so is that quite easy for you to get? Like, obviously you got that all over Mexico City. You can readily available. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's the other one.
Yeah, it's super easy. I was going to mention I do the same thing that you mentioned. You want to get your protein you want to get all of your nutrition and caloric content ideally from whole food sources. A lot of guys do supplement, but remember it's called supplement. So supplementation is something in addition to what you're not getting. Ideally, the bulk of your calories and your macronutrition should come from whole food quality. So I always say the healthiest option available and the highest quality that my budget permits. You hear excuses all the time. I don't have money. I don't have time. Those are all excuses. You just don't want to be fit. For me to get fat again, it would take way more time and effort than for me to just be jacked year round. So like that is not an excuse. All of that's out the window. You're just fucking lazy and you're lying to yourself. Which if you need help with not being a liar to yourself and actually look in the mirror and see a non-fit person looking back, hit me up for coaching. I can do that. The new identity formation. So all of that stuff's a lie. You have your base protein. Again, it's animal sourced protein. Don't do pea protein or rice protein or any of that stuff. Vegan diets will screw up your endocrine system. Don't do that if you're a male. Females can get away with it, but it'll still screw with their cycle a bit. So you want to make sure your hormones are taken care of. We will get into the hormone thing.
There are some people that have to live on the vegan diet, though, and I get it. Me personally, I understand the science. It's like the protein is not as good, is it? It's like, and they miss like certain aminos and things, but I think you can still do it. So
it's missing.
Use certain supplements like leucine supplements and things like this to top up the missing aminos, but it's harder. It's like the best protein, as you say, comes from whole foods, and it's
remember if you're if you're supplementing, your diet's lacking. So you shouldn't be supplementing.
Yeah, correct.
Again, I do 2 scoops of protein pre-workout. Yeah, technically it's not truly fasted because there's some caloric content there, but I've never had an issue. And then again,
Yeah,
with,
but even
so
even the
go
protein
ahead.
powder, you're still better off with, actual
Whole food.
chewable food. Yeah, like whole foods. I mean, if you can, and a lot of people, like I speak to a lot of people, and there are the typical complaints like it's too expensive, which is a viable reason. I mean, it is expensive to eat whole foods all day long. You've got
chicken
that.
breast is pretty. Chicken breast is pretty cheap though. Chicken breast is cheaper than a bag of Cheetos or snack
chicken breast,
or,
right?
Crap like that.
Yeah, but eating
even
high-end steak and
shrimp's
pricey.
Shrimp's lean and cheap too. Okay, yeah, maybe price tag wise, but you only need 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of shrimp. So again, roughly 3/4 to a kilo of shrimp. And if you only eat once a day, your whole meal is less than $20. So usually on a day-to-day basis, I eat less than $20 worth of food a day, which isn't too bad. That's $600 a month. So if you're going out all the time, you can easily rack up way more than that. So most of cook your own meals. Make sure it's whole, highest quality, budget permitting, animal source proteins as lean as possible. You backfill your fats with, I do vegetable oil, avocado, coconut, nuts, no processed seed oils. You can eat like flaxseed whole because it hasn't been separated from the fiber or any of that stuff. And then for carbs, I just backfill the carbs. And then you always have to hit your protein requirements. So just get in the habit of that. And then in terms of how your body gets its energy, there's like the keto carnivore movement, which advocates for higher fat and lower carbs, or the more bodybuilder style eating, it's higher carbs and lower fat. Those two are inverse. So as your carbs go up, your fat goes down. As your fat goes up, your carbs go down. On a maintenance plan, I'm usually a perfectly balanced diet. So if you look at the macro thing, it splits it up. It's usually around 33% between the macro categories for the calories I need for a day for maintenance, but that's usually my day-to-day is usually just perfectly balanced. If I want to play around, and again, this is more advanced, like if I have a photo shoot coming up or a rooftop beach party, then I'll play around with fluid retention. I'll play around with sodium. I'll play around with carb and calorie cycling. And these are all kind of more advanced type topics.
Yeah, there's all them techniques. I mean, I do the same, but probably not as extreme as you. I mean, I'm typically low carb year round. Just because I like the benefits of being low carb. You got a sharper brain, and I just feel better. Carbs make me want to go to sleep. And the other thing is, I feel less bloated because obviously, if you're not having carbs, you're not storing the
glycogen,
as much. And obviously, I think it's something like, what is it, 1 to 3? You need 3 parts water to 1 part glycogen, so you end up like storing loads of water.
I thought it was 4 to 1. Like every gram of carb will pull 4 grams of water into the cell, but that might be different for different physiques too. Because I hold mass. That can be muscle, that can be fat, that could be fluid, that could be whatever. My body holds mass.
One thing I do though, when I go on a cut and I'm in a caloric deficit, I then introduce some carbs at night, cycling. To top up.
I do all my carbs before bed, which a lot of people will tell you not to do. This might be a good segment to roll into also. Weightlifting myths. There's not a catch-all answer for everyone. You just have to get started, track everything, figure out what works for you, adjust different variables. And what you track, you can measure. So then you can look back at all your lifting logs. You can look back at all your diet logs. I use my MyFitnessPal and Body Space as the apps on my phone for that stuff. But then you can look back and you have a record that if I do this, this happens. And then you try a new thing. Okay, let's try intermittent fasting. I did the 8-hour window, then 16-hour window, then 20-hour window. Now it's been 1 meal a day for 8 years now. I do the carb cycling, calorie cycling. If I have, again, if it's Saturday and I have a photo shoot and it's a fitness photo shoot, not a fashion one, then on Monday, I'm going to do what bodybuilders do for a peak week, which is you drink 2 gallons of water, then 1.5 gallons, and half gallon. The last 2 days, you don't drink any water at all. You were doing low carb beginning in the week, and then as you reduce your fluid, you increase your carbs because again, a carb has to pull 1 gram of carb pulls 4 grams of water into the muscle cell. Well, you're not giving your body any water. You already pissed it all out. So what your body does is it sucks up all that fluid retention and it puts it in your muscle. And that's how you get that shredded kind of dick skin look that bodybuilders do. So it's just all science, and these are all tricks, and they all work, but it depends on what is the combination of these tools that you're using in your personal toolkit. Again, time permitting and budget permitting to get where you want to go when you want to do it. And it's all just a science.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fighters use that same technique with water, don't they, to cut weight before a fight. And then like the day before, they do the weigh-in or whatever. And then within them sort of few hours between the weigh-in and the fight, they just consume and they just put like 80% of the weight back on, like in an evening or something.
Yeah,
just
it's all fluid manipulation at that point.
Yeah.
Like, so when I get sub 10% body fat, there's not a lot of body fat for me left to use. And at that point, it's just fluid manipulation.
Yeah. Okay. So like in terms of what you do then, Jaren, because obviously you got the Gringo guide, so we probably should talk about this. So like your Gringo guides, as I understand it, you're helping guys acclimatize, and you're teaching them Spanish and how to sort of get used to sort of life in Mexico. So these are like expats, are they, that are looking for a new life in the city, and you're helping them out transition. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. Do you mind holding the floor for 30 seconds? I'm going to come out and come back in. I just connected my backup camera.
No worries. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what then. Let's just share a bit more of your
my Instagram. Yeah, be right back.
Yeah, I'll go on there now. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Just while Jaren's going back. So here we go. Oh yeah, let's have a look at some of these. Little playing the guitar. I mean, you'd have to have a look at these yourself, but they're quite funny actually. I quite like them. He scrolling down, got a few more as well. Right. Let's talk about this, because I think this is the photo that he mentioned. Peak fatness. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you were carrying a bit weight there. Maybe that's not his. When you're back, Jaren, I found the photograph. Let me know. The one that we need to talk about. So yeah, we'll bring that up. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just leave it on that photo there. So yeah, in terms of what Jaren does, then, if you look on his channel, Gringo Guides, he obviously a Spanish speaker, helping people move to Mexico City, understand the life there, that kind of thing. And I think he does a lot of sort of overall coaching in terms of not just the Spanish, but also, introducing guys to sort of where to train and that kind of thing. You back?
And I'm back. Yeah, this camera's not nearly
good. Jaren, look at this. Is this the peak fatness one? Can you see that?
Yeah, it's not on the screen. There we go. No, so that was prior to starting TRT. So that was me. Okay. Me already 10 years in the gym. Everything natural, everything organic. Still, you can see I still have the same basic body shape, but composition wise, I held a little more body fat. Being obese, my endocrine profile was out of whack. We tried to reset it multiple times with a Clomid monotherapy. That is what a lot of bodybuilders use to, which is PCT, post-cycle therapy. So we did a Clomid monotherapy. We did an HCG monotherapy. It did get my testosterone up back into range, but it didn't stay in range. It still fell off about 200 points when I got off of the monotherapy. And then at that point, I think I was just barely outside of range on the low end. And my endocrinologist asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to be normal or do you want to be optimized? I'm like, you know what, let's go optimized. But for the TRT, I do minimally viable dose. I only do 100 mgs of testosterone a week, which is 2 shots of 50 milligrams twice a week, every 3.5 days. I also top off my syringes. I do a replacement dose of HGH, which is human growth hormone. That's more for anti-aging. You want to be careful not to run that too high, because you can get acromegaly, which is like human growth hormone makes everything grow. So like your organs. So you don't want your heart to grow. You don't want your organs to grow. That'll cause issues. So I do 1.2 IU of human growth hormone every single day. In the morning, I do that fasted before my coffee, and that just kind of moves everything along. It does
How do
keep
you
you a little
take that?
leaner.
How do
It's
you
just
take that? I've no experience.
Oh, it's just a little. It's a little insulin shot. It's a
Okay.
31 gauge needle. It's like that big.
Tiny insulin
Here,
needle.
do I have a syringe here? I might.
All right. Okay. Hang on. Let me stop sharing. You can.
Yeah. So these are my tee shots. I preload them. So it's a little teeny tiny.
Yeah, I can see
I
that.
don't have the good camera. Yeah, it's a little teeny tiny needle. I inject them in pockets of loose skin or where fat used to be, and you don't even feel it.
Is that what you call subcutaneously? Isn't
It's
it?
subcutaneous. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've no
Yeah.
experience with that stuff. I've always been fully natural, but I read quite a bit about it at the minute. I'm just getting my bloodstone, watching my testosterone. Yeah. It's pretty decent, so I'm kind of leaving it. You can always be better, can't you? I mean, everyone can. You can always step the whole thing up. And
I could do 500 milligrams of test a week and then stack like Masteron and Primobolan and all sorts of stuff on top of it, and then do four IUs of HGH. But here's an important one too. All of my lipids are in check. Everything is in range. There's nothing wrong with me. I did some heart tests recently. There's a test that came back. It's like, you have a left ventricular block. I'm like, no, I don't, because I don't eat a diet to have heart problems. Like for example, unless there's some environmental accident or there's a pre-existing genetic marker, which there's not, because I analyze my genetics too, I will never get cancer because I don't eat a diet that leads to cancerous growth. I'm sure I'll have malignant cells, as all of us do. With the intermittent fasting too, you go into a state what's called autophagy, about the hour 18 time point, to where your body literally just takes out the trash. It actively kills your dead cells or your bad cells, and it gets rid of them. So I've done all the medical tests too, but this, so I came up and said I had a left ventricular block. I'm like, no, I don't. So I did a bunch more heart tests, and then eventually went to a cardiologist. It's like, no, you have said in the left ventricle, I guess there's multiple nerves that go to the different areas of the heart. He said, you have a 2 millisecond delay, which triggered a block on the machine. He's like, but you're healthy. No enlarged heart, none of that stuff, which a lot of bodybuilders can get. So you have to be careful with that. But again, I do the minimally viable dose, and I never run outside of what my natural range would be. So I never say I'm juiced or I'm on steroids. Technically, test-based, test C or test E. Ether is steroids if you run them in steroid doses, but I never go outside my natural range. And again, my goal now is just health, longevity, and just general overall well-being. And when you get all those things in order, your body will tell you what you're doing. I can look at someone's physique and tell you exactly what they're doing, or get pretty close to it.
Yeah, that point on the fasting, when I fast, because I've done a lot of fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting, sometimes I'll do a prolonged fast. And I always think, when you get to that kind of 18, 20 hour point, it's like you can feel it. It's a weird feeling. I don't know if it's like a placebo effect.
The hunger pain or the fasting effect.
Yeah. It's like you start feeling your body do different things, and
it does do different things. Yep.
It's a strange feeling, but it's a really good one. And I think that's when all the hunger goes away. You get to 20 hours, there's no hunger, and it feels great. So yeah, you're right, Jaren.
Yeah, I'm drawing my blinds down. I'm really bummed out. My camera started crapping out because this backup camera, it's not nearly as good. So for the hunger pains, if you're new to intermittent fasting, that's why I mentioned I started with an 8-hour eating window. So you're fasted for 16, you're fed for 8. Then I went to you're fasted for 8, fed for 16, which is like pretty much the standard American diet. Because most people eat, or most people sleep.
You do an 8-hour eating window and 16-hour fast. 16-8.
Yeah.
Intermittent. So you start.
Yeah, so it went 16 fasted, then 20 fasted, and then it just went to 1 meal a day. And that was more because for schedule permitting. Think about the time you spend thinking about what you're going to eat, preparing your food, eating your food, and then cleaning up after yourself, which not everyone does that. I've had people visit me and they don't clean up after themselves, but I do. So think of all the time you spend in a day. It's hours and hours a day. For me, my food window in terms of preparation, all my meals I do in less than 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. And eating, it takes a long time because I'm eating a lot. But at that point, I'm already laying down. I'm unwinding for the night. So during the day, I'm letting my body use my body fat as its energy. It's because people get really
you must consume an absolute ton of calories in one go then, just to
Not
get
a lot. I'm 2,000 to 2,200 calories a
right.
day.
Okay,
So
that's
my TDEE is roughly 3,300. So that's your total daily expenditure of energy. You can get these tested, and they will give you those numbers. And again, you can plug that into spreadsheets. If you want, guys, if you want access to any spreadsheets I'm referring to, just hit me up at Jaren Scott. I have an intro video somewhere on my channel. I'll send you a link to the video of how to read it, what information to collect and what information to track. It has trend lines and all that stuff. And then just like some samples of my DEXA scans and of my bloods and all that kind of stuff. Exactly how to
I
like
think we should
read
put that in the comments. Jaren, I was going to say your links, we need to put them in the comments. I'll drop it in the description as well. I'll put a link to your channel.
Let me find it real quick.
Yeah, if you can, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll have it put in the description.
Okay. Just why don't you explain to people what? So in terms of how you help people out, in terms of the Gringo guides, what do you do in terms? Do you help them coaching fitness as well? I mean, why don't you explain to people how that works? What do you do for people there?
It's more of an overall lifestyle thing. A lot of guys come to me through, so there's a couple of tiers of people that come to me. There are guys that are significantly overweight, 40 pounds or more of body fat overweight. Cause there are just some big built guys like, hey, I'm fat. I'm like, no, dude, you're just fucking bovine. So I help those guys out. In terms of just fitness, diet, routine, all that kind of stuff on the fitness front, or I call it fat to fit front, on the learning Spanish quickly. So I learned Spanish very, very quickly. We mentioned earlier, I'm also a musician. So learning a language is just like learning a new instrument, just like learning a new song. It's the same exact process. So I already had these mental faculties developed. I just applied learning a language as the input, and then the output was learning the language quickly because I'd already learned multiple instruments before when I was younger. So I help guys that. Also, Spanish is pretty much entirely rooted in the Latin language. English is largely rooted in the Latin language. There is some Greek in there. So you'll learn to identify, for example, if there's a PH that comes from Greek in English, well, that also carries over to Spanish. It just converts to an F, and it's usually followed by certain vowel sounds. Whether they're accented or not, that depends. But you start to create these rules. And what I did initially with my Spanish was to go back, study the history of English and study the history of Spanish, and then realize that there's points throughout history in which they diverged. So you want to go back to that point, the pre-divergence point, and see when were the two languages roughly the same in terms of the root words. And in doing so, you have half the language down within 3 months or so. Now, that essentially leads it
technical to me.
It's super technical.
I'm
technical with everything I do. Well, I don't like wasting time. And since we are educated modern people, we have science, we have information. Correct. We can track these things and we can chart these things. So the same thing I did with fitness, I did with Spanish. Okay, if I do these 33 things in the next 3 months, I will know 50% of the Spanish language. I never memorize vocabulary. I did memorize all the grammar tables because their grammar's pretty intense. Just memorize it. That's just memory and recall for the grammar tables. And then you plug these 33 conversion tables into it, and you have half the language. That's now a baseline. Notice how I use that term again. Now it's a starting point. You can navigate the culture is what I say. You can't have in-depth conversations, whatever, but you can get around. You can order food on the phone. You can pay your bills. If you get pulled over by a cop, you can talk yourself out of a ticket or just give them a little, they call it mordida in Spanish.
All right.
So you learn all these things by going through this framework. And I'm a frameworks guy. I don't know why people overcomplicate so many things in life when we already know the answers. We know how to do it. Just do it. So I help them with that. And then the actual relocation and acculturation side of things. So if you've never been to Mexico before, do you know how to find an apartment? Do you know how to get your legal residency status? Do you know how to pay taxes if that applies to your specific situation? And then the next one is the dating topics. I have a very, very colorful dating life. Let's just say that. I'm very pleased in that category of my life. I don't talk about it as much anymore on the channel because you'll get guys in the comments like, oh, Jaren has to pay for it. It's like, dude, it would, again, for me to get fat, it would take more effort than for me to be jacked. For me to pay for it would take way more effort than what I do now. So again, I just created a system. I'm a corporate marketing consultant by trade.
It's like lifestyle design, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lifestyle.
Like a lifestyle design. So you're basically, I can imagine these guys when they come to you, some of them are kind of overweight and you're going to transform them. Is that right? The whole lifestyle, the fitness, the whole works, you know. learning the language, getting in
Yep.
shape, learning the
And it's,
social skills, a whole lot. Is
yeah,
that
it's 90 days. It
okay?
depends how much time you're looking to put into it. 90 days, if you're really gung ho serious about it, yeah, you can get all that done. You should be
Okay.
able to have a navigable level of Spanish in 90 days. I have a dating course that I did a few months ago. If you bring me on for coaching, I supplement the coaching with the dating course. It's exactly how to create your own dating blueprint. I'm primarily digital, but I do have a good social life. So I mean, anytime I go out, you're gonna meet
I always see
chicks.
you at pool parties.
Yeah,
Every
those are
time I
fun.
watch your stuff, you're always at a pool party. All your friends are like, and I was always
Yep.
wondering, is that what it's like in Mexico City? Because I've never been.
Yep.
I'm thinking,
It
I
is.
want to get to Mexico City. All these.
Yeah, you just take your shirt off and go to a place where a lot of hot girls go. And if you're in the 99th percentile of physiques, the girls just come up to you. You don't have to do anything. So again, guys that are like, oh my God, well, I have to have more money or I have to have more status. Or I have to be super jacked. No, that stuff all helps. But it's the internal framework too you got to work on, which my dating course does cover. But really, once you get all these variables in place, you just show up and people come to you. And for me, again, thinking on the longer term horizon, yeah, day to day, initially it sucked losing 100 pounds. That was took a lot of motivation to do that. But 20 years later, all of these things are in order already. So I just show up and hot girls are going to come talk to me. That is the result of 20 years of work.
Yeah, so just on that, like the guy that comes in, he needs to learn, like, what, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds, something like this. How long, what's your window of sort of transforming this typical coaching client?
I mean, it really depends on how aggressive they want to get.
Are you going aggressive? Are you going like a £2 a week or something, or
2 or 3 pounds a week? And especially when you're considerably overweight, you're also an addict. You have a food addiction, and you also have some psychological issues. You hear this body shaming stuff like, oh, big and beautiful at any size. No, if you truly love yourself, it is impossible to let yourself get to that point. So there is an identity issue. There is some trauma to unpack. There's a reason you're stress eating, emotionally eating, and there's a reason you have to deal with the chemical imbalance too. Just like if you're a heroin addict, you have a food addiction. So we address that. I'll get guys that'll say, they're like, oh, am I going to starve? I'm like, dude, you're 100 pounds overweight. You can.
That's the
it's another lie.
Hormones, the ghrelin and everything. Your body's got enough calories in it to help you survive. You know what I mean? It's really strange. But when I was cutting weight, when you first start doing the 16-8 intermittent fast, it's horrible. And what made it easy for me?
You get hungry. You have hunger pains.
Yeah, you have to train your body to do without such cravings, especially like the sugars and things like this. And when I went more low carb, I found it so much easier because I was kind of like fat adapted.
You don't get hungry.
It didn't really hurt. And, 16-8 seemed like difficult. And now I could go days and days, it seems easy. But
have you noticed the longer you go without eating, the less hungry you get? Because I do up to 5-day fasts for spiritual reasons too. About day 3, guess what? You see God, and you're in a completely transcendental frequency. So I do that roughly. I used to do it once quarterly. Now I do it at least once a year, just a 5-day fast. And again, that's for spiritual benefits.
What I find with a multi-day fast is after 18, 20 hours, I don't feel hungry. But as I approach my mental endpoint, literally like an hour before, if you tell yourself you're doing 72 hours, like 3 days, on hour 70, all of a sudden you get really hungry. And them last 2 hours are a struggle because and it's probably better not to have that mental stop point. Because that's when
it depends. So my first 2-day fast, that first night, because I always do 1 meal a day. I've been doing that for 8 years consistently. So that first night where you'd normally eat all of your calories in one sitting, you're just going to bed. And so you do feel kind of hungry at that point. And then when you go to a 3-day fast, it's the second night. And then I've noticed that after day 3, you just don't get hungry anymore. Okay. And what happens, your body does a bunch of cool stuff too. So think of back when we were evolving as a human species. After a few days of food, you start getting these endorphins and these hormones and these chemicals saying, go out and get food. So you get like a lot of people think, oh, you get real frail and weak and unmotivated and unenergetic. No. It is an intense mental clarity that you get. And again, it's more transcendental to where literally from a biological standpoint, your body's like kind of in the process of dying. So that does something to your consciousness, if that makes sense. But after day 3, you just don't get hungry anymore. And then it's tough coming back. So a lot of times, even last night, I was busy all day. I had calls all day long, back to back, running from place to place. And then when it came time to eat, I wasn't really that hungry. So yeah, I kind of going back on what I said earlier. You do want whole food sources, but a lot of times I'll just pound some protein shakes. You always have to hit your protein for the day. If you're not doing extended fasting, so just hit the protein shakes for my protein and be like, okay, well now usually I end up around 900 to 1200 calories. Once I hit my protein requirements, you'll get some fat and carbs in there, but it's a negligible amount. Well, now if I have a 3300 TDEE, I have 2000 to 300 or 2300, 2400 calories left that I can bank for the weekend, for the holidays, for when I go on vacation, whatever that looks like.
I've just noticed I on the chat on StreamYard, I had it on private chat.
Yeah,
I've just flipped
let's start going through some of these.
Yeah, I'll just Kevin there. Right, okay. Joel has the perfect lean lifter look. Oh, are you going to start with this one? Go on.
Yeah, do you mind if I just rapid fire these?
Yeah, go on. Go for it, yeah.
Joel has a perfect lean lifter look.
I was thinking that. You know that image?
His body composition has changed. Yeah. So he never had a lot of body fat, but he increased his lean muscle mass baseline.
Oh, he's getting the shape now, and I quite like it. When
exactly.
I've seen photos of it, I mean, he looks lean, but you can see it's like a lean shape, you know, the V shape.
It's that Gresham ideal. If you look at the golden ratio calculator, that's how I train my physique. Again, in the description after this guy's come back or hit me up, I have videos I've done on my channel before. They're like 3-hour-long thesis type videos. I really dive into the science and I show you all the medical documentation. But you'll start to create a framework in your brain of exactly what the human body is like. It's funny. Right. A little off topic. I had a girl over last night and she was kind of nervous to be around me. So I started kind of, massaging her fingertips and I gave her a nice hand massage. And then at the end, of course, I got to where I wanted to go. And she's like, how did you do that? I was like, well, I created these processes of visualizing my body as an instrument or as a vehicle. So in doing so, and the mind muscle connection helps too. And then I have all the tables and spreadsheets. That's all planted firmly in my firmware to where I could start feeling her fingers and my brain was starting to visually 3D map out her body, where her tension points were, where her stress points were, like how her energy flows. I do a lot of spiritual work too on myself. So you could literally just dial into her energy and then she just completely literally opened up for me. And that's how we did that. So it is a process of understanding how your body works from a scientific standpoint, from a habitual standpoint, psychological standpoint, spiritual standpoint, emotional. All these things are factors. But once you get it all together, then really it's kind of like a superpower.
Yeah, let's go next one. So Kevin's asking.
Kevin, got to roll, guys. You're going to play the recording on your channel, Andy.
Yeah, it's live on my channel. Yeah.
Yeah, once the live ends, it just stays there. So we got what's up, everyone.
Yeah, what's up?
Best service to measure levels. Any local lab for you. If you're in the US, it's LabCorp. Here in Mexico, I use one called El Chopo. It's actually a little expensive in Mexico. So if you're in the US, it's usually about $200-$300 for all of your blood markers. Andy, in the UK, does the NHS take care of that, or is that more of an elective thing?
The problem with going to the NHS is they'll measure you on one thing. So I use Medichecks. It's just and you can just get through the mail. It's like £150, which is probably like $180 or something. But if you pay a bit more, you go to a clinic and the clinic will do your bloods. Yeah. I just do that. I just use private.
Yeah, find a local laboratory. If you're US based and you have health insurance, most of your FSA, flexible spending account, or your HSA, your health spending accounts will cover any diagnostic work. Some health plans are doing TRT or HRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy now. So look at your plan. If you're opting into a plan, when your annual plan opt-in period comes up, read the fine print, see what they cover. I have had healthcare providers provide it in the past in the US. Yeah. I haven't had US health insurance since I moved to Mexico, obviously. I do. I have it now. I'm actually working for a British company and they give me 100% US health coverage, but I'm not in the US, which is kind of cool. I was like, oh yeah, you guys have better benefits than we do, although your salaries aren't as high, but that's okay.
So you can't get the testosterone treatment in the UK unless you're massively out of range. I mean, I'm in a really good range, but if you go in, like the issue with the NHS is they're not interested in optimizing it. They haven't got time to optimize
No.
people. So
The US is the same. They're not interested in your
you know what
health.
I mean?
They are drug dealers.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pill pushers. So you have to take your health into your own hands. And a lot of times your doctors, I love doctors to death. I have family in the medical field. I think what they're doing is noble. Even like combat medics or vets, not in my family, there's no combat medics or vets, but there's people that they'll go abroad and like war-torn zones and offer their medical services. It's extremely noble, that profession, but a lot of them are not well versed on hormone optimization or testosterone in general. And you'll go to your primary care physician and they'll give you ridiculous schedules like, 100 milligrams of test injected every 21 days. Like, no, you're going to shut yourself down. Don't ever do that. But they don't know any better. I'm not a doctor by any means. Don't take medical advice from me. But what I'm getting at is you have to be a proponent of your health. And if you want to choose the optimization part, you use the tools the medical industry offers you to do that. But you are your own biggest advocate.
Yeah, I mean, there are services out there that do all that for you. I mean, when I get my bloods done, I've sort of learned to check my own blood. So you get all the SHBG, your free test, your total test, all the rest of it. Just go through these comments. Next one.
Yep, let's do it.
How do you fight the hunger pains? I presume that means. Is it purely discipline? Yeah, it is at first. I would say it is a discipline. It's you've got to do it. You've got to push through those kind of cravings, and you got to retrain your body not to get the cravings. Next one, keto.
There's a couple little tricks too. So volume will make you feel full. So stay very hydrated. I drink one of these per hour. I also have to use a restroom every hour because I drink a lot of fluid. I'm about 7 liters a day of water up here in Mexico City. The high altitude it makes you a little more dehydrated too, which I didn't realize was a thing until a doctor buddy of mine came and stayed with me. I was like, dude, I'm drinking so much water. It's like, yeah, me too. It's the altitude. And he explained to me why that is. So stay hydrated. Black coffee, teas, any sort of caffeinated drinks, no calories. That'll reduce the hunger pains. It's also a slight stimulant, obviously. It does have that hunger curbing effect. I'm not doing it on the stream, but I know it's a bad habit. But nicotine will also just kill your hunger pains, which I don't get hunger. I don't get hunger pains anymore. But in the initial phases, you will until your body's fully fat adapted. And again, until your body resets that baseline to where Jaren only needs to eat one time a day. It's at 8 p.m. my time. When 8 p.m. rolls around, I am ready to eat. I have trained my body to do that. So just grin and bear it, fight through it. You'll be fine. Eventually your body, when you take control of your health, your body will respond. It has no other choice. So get through it there. And then in times when you do eat, I don't eat a lot of calories for my build per se, but I eat foods that are high in volume. So eating a kilogram of beef or chicken or shrimp, that is a lot of volume in your gut. You're going to be full.
It seriously fills you up.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm stuffed. And then I have 1,000 calories left to get to 1,000 calorie deficit. If I was on maintenance, I have 2,000 to 2,300 calories left after I hit my protein. That's all carbs and fats. Fats are satiating, so those will also fill you up. It also makes things slower to digest, so you'll feel fuller longer. And guess what? You won't be hungry for another 24 hours because you've given your body everything it needs in one sitting. Now, for carbs, if you are doing higher carb, depends on where you're at in your bulk cut cycle. If you're doing that, when I get really lean, I don't like doing a lot of fiber because it makes me bloat. But high fibrous foods and high volume foods. So I always say the most amount of volume for the lowest amount of calories for the highest number of volume. So I'll do, let's say, a kilo of lean chicken breast, has almost no fat. It comes out between 900, 1,000 calories or so. For the other 1,000 calories, I'll literally eat a whole box of Rice Krispie treats with stevia and lactose-free protein fortified almond milk. And I'll come in at 1,700 calories. I am stuffed. That is a full liter of milk. That is a whole box of cereal. And that is a kilogram of meat in one meal. So you are stuffed. You will not get hungry doing that.
No, I tend to have, I do the same with the meat, but one thing you can do to fill yourself up that I find is just eat. You can literally eat half a kilo of salad or a kilo of salad, and you're struggling to get it in, because it's a right big bowl.
You're not hungry anymore.
No, with all that, but the meat's the best one to satiate yourself. It completely fills you up. Just on this next one here, Jaren, keto or no keto? Want to have a little go at
what's
this?
Your take? Let's do it.
So, I've obviously been very, very strict keto for. I'm always full-time low carb, but right now I'm more like slow carb, so I'm not pure keto anymore. There are periods where I am just in pure ketosis, but usually I do eat some carbs, but I always eat them at night if I'm going to eat them. Tend to stay like around the 100-gram mark of carb. I just don't do high carb.
I'm 100 to 200 grams. Leg day I get 200
Yeah.
grams. The days where, so because I do the cycling too, so if it's a weak part day, like my glutes are a little weaker, my chest is a little weaker, my back is well developed, shoulders are well developed, so I do.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll do more carbs and maybe even higher calories on the days where I'm training lagging parts where I'm completely strong. Now I do about 100. So I don't go full keto because sometimes you can get a bit of the keto flu or the keto flush.
Yeah, you can.
And you do need some carbs. Even when I was quote unquote on kilo, I believe they say less than 50 grams of carbs per day. And that's just for basic bodily function. So you don't want to go extreme and deprive your body of anything it needs. So you go to the basic function. And again, it's a mathematical equation. You fill in the rest of those calories with another macronutrient category. In this case, it would be fat rather than carbs.
Yeah, I actually perform really well on fats. I know that, like, you will always have more readily available because your body can convert the glycogen really quick to energy. You know, ketones is a harder process, slower.
Once you're fat adapted, I noticed I went through an adaptation phase for that, where I felt kind of sick for a bit. The first time doing keto, I did get the keto flu. To be fully fat adapted took me about 3 weeks, but then I'm sure you get this too.
Right? Yeah, well,
now I can feel it. I know when my body is switching to my stored body fat for energy, because from a cognition level, your energy levels are more stable and your focus, you just get very dialed in and you can feel it.
So this next comment's a good one then. Just leave this on a bit longer. Not
What's good, everyone? No, I know. That was great.
This is a good one. Leave this one on for a bit. Is desire for food consumption largely mental or emotional? This is a big topic. So I mean,
we could do a whole stream on that one.
Desire for food, yeah, you could. It sounds like a good video title. Desire for food consumption, largely. Are we talking about overeating here, like food addiction? I think there's many different reasons. You know, people eat overconsume. I think it's easy to overconsume. You look at the diet, the Western diet is so easy to overconsume. There's just like a lack of knowledge.
It's a drug too. So we didn't get into, usually when you overconsume, a lot of modern food is processed. It is engineered by companies that they don't sell food. They sell food products. That is a very important distinction to make. So usually the human body, again, going back to our caveman days, or, you know, nomadic out on the prairie, hunting animals, fielding for berries and that kind of stuff. The human body is evolved and designed to gravitate towards fats, sugars, and salts. So what do these companies do? They engineer their food products. It's not food. If you can't find it on the perimeter of your grocery store, if you can't find it in nature, you are not eating food. Let's make that clear distinction. So they engineer these food products to overstimulate these centers. I use the same analogy. It's like people say, like, oh, you know, like the drug cocaine. Like, oh my God, yeah, it's crazy. Well, in South America, they drink coca tea for altitude sickness, and it's actually really good. Every now and then I'll buy coca tea here. I think it's hard to get in the US or like English-speaking countries, but the coca tea, okay, yeah, it has less than a fraction of a percentage of the active ingredient in cocaine, whereas cocaine, everyone says there's this pure. It's never actually pure, but what they're doing is they're extracting that active ingredient and they're purifying it. So when you do a line or whatever, you're getting just a huge rush of active ingredient that you cannot find in nature. Whereas if you just chew on the coca leaves or you put it in a tea, you're going to get trace amounts of cocaine, but it's going to be no more than a strong cup of coffee. But it also has the altitude sickness fighting effects, which is why a lot of people in South America or high elevations use it. I'm in high elevation. You can find it here. It's great. But it's nowhere near like, you know, doing a rail of Coke or anything like that. Food is the same way. So your granulated white sugar that has been stripped from the fiber, it has been processed, it has been dialed down. You're eating pure sugar. Whereas if you eat an apple or a pear or a peach, yes, there is sugar in it, but it's wrapped in the fiber and it's naturally occurring in nature. And it's also important to distinguish, again, another whole video topic between fructose and sucralose and dextrose, all the different sugar types. Luckily, I don't eat a lot of sugar, so I don't get into that anymore. Yeah,
just some berries.
Yep, exactly.
I just eat some berries, you know, like obviously antioxidants and things, but I do avoid all the various sugars where I can.
Yeah, and berries don't have a lot of calories. With this post-surgery diet I'm on, they want me doing. I'm doing way more fruit than I've ever done in my life for the antioxidant benefits and stuff. But it's something like a cup of frozen mangoes is like 50 calories. Like, okay, I've been slamming just nutrient dense smoothies during these last couple of weeks. Also part of the medication protocol they put me on, it kind of kills my appetite. So I typically don't take a lot of oral medication or supplements or any of that because it screws with your GI, your gastrointestinal health. So again, there's so many other variables here. We're talking about the basics, but you can get so into it in terms of like fiber versus no fiber, gastrointestinal health, probiotic. What does your gut biome look like? And these are all, there's not a catch-all answer. Like just take this one pill and I'll be jacked. They're little things that get you a little bit better. But when you compound all of these things over the longer frame, then you will build a very nice, very well-functioning, very optimized physique. And your brain is attached to your body. So your brain will benefit as well.
So just that pretty much answers that question. So just in terms of the basics, Jaren, then, there's always, what's your idea of basics here? Like, if you had to, just the principles on diet, what's your idea?
Do you know what I did when I lost 100 pounds? I actually didn't know much about diet or exercise.
What did you do? Just stop eating?
Yep. So everyone knows what a healthy food is or not. So a lot of people come to, I don't know what to do. You know that pizza is not healthy. You know that donuts aren't healthy. You know that ice cream isn't healthy. You know that you should not be eating that stuff. If you don't know that, then I don't know how you're functioning as an adult human being. So when I lost 100 pounds, I cut out all the crap. And then what you do is when you cut stuff out, because you will miss it, you're going through withdrawals.
It's the sugars and snacks, isn't it? You cut the sugars and snacks out, and that does loads already. That's exactly. Fried
foods are gone. I drink diet soda every now and then. I know people say, "Oh, there's aspartame." It's better than full sugar soda. So cut out all of your sugars, all of your overly salty stuff. Guess what? No more fried foods. If you want to take it a step further, your fats are now heart healthy fats. They're not crap fats. So. But really, it's just you already know what's good and what's bad. Eating a package of Oreos and then drinking 12 beers before going to bed is not doing your physique any benefits. So these things go away. But now you get to replace these habits with good habits. So, okay, I'm not doing a pack of Oreos anymore, but I can do a berry smoothie with lean whey protein isolate. You can do that. Guess what? I have a sweet tooth. Every single night I eat a dessert, but it's a healthy dessert. So it's not.
Define a healthy dessert. I like this. Go on. What's a healthy dessert? Define it.
So you can do. So really, there's a couple things you need to get to do healthy versions of food. Is the human body, it wants the texture. So try to recreate your textures and then the flavor. So stevia or monk fruit is usually my sweetener. In terms of, I do a cheesecake recipe. So sugar-free Jell-O packets, 1 part of that to 1 part Greek yogurt. Prepare the Jell-O as is, and then do 1 part Greek yogurt. That gives you a cheesecake filling. Graham crackers, if you don't add any crap to them and don't get any sugar, that's just pure carbs. So you crush those up. For the crust, you do MCT oil or a coconut oil. So yes, I'm still eating cheesecake. You put berries on top if you want to do a reduction or whatever, and then chill the sauce and put that. You can do that. So yes, I'm still eating cheesecake, but there's not anything that doesn't occur in nature in that cheesecake. Yes, the graham crackers are processed. Yes, stevia is processed, but there's no insulin spike, and I'm not getting any sugar or salts or fats really, for that matter.
I tend to
and the Greek yogurt has good protein, and it's good for your gut biome as well.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about yogurt, just so we don't labour the point, but on Greek yogurt, it's hard to actually, when you go to the shop now, it's actually hard to find full fat Greek yogurt. They sell zero fat yogurt, and then you look at it, and what they do is they take the fat out, but they fill it up with sugar, don't they? Have you noticed? There's even more calories in it. Because they sell it as being healthy. It's got fat free on the front of it, so everyone assumes. I was in the shop today picking some up.
If you're in the US, the Oikos brand, OIKOS 000 is what you want to go for. Here in Mexico, they don't have that brand, but they have a Oikos organic version. You will have some trace sugars and fats from the natural process, but there's no added sugar or fat. That's what you want to look out for. Yeah.
All right.
So guys, whatever question you have, there's tricks. So what it gets down to is you replace bad habits with good habits. So when I first started losing my first 100-pound weight loss stint, That was me just not doing pizza for lunch, not doing full sugar sodas, no fruit juices because you strip the fiber and that's just a sugar bomb. And then whole grain bread, I was still doing deli meats. I don't do deli meats anymore. I don't do any of that shit, but whole grain bread, deli meats, like a couple sandwiches a day, fruit smoothies, with the full fiber, not stripped. You don't want to do the fruit juices. And really I'd walk 3 miles every morning. I'd walk 3 miles at lunch. We had off campus lunch at my school. So instead of going to Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Carl's Jr., I would walk the track. After school, I would walk for another 3 miles. So I was doing plus my daily steps, probably 9 to 10 miles a day. Did that for a year. Didn't do anything crazy. I didn't track anything. I didn't know about calorie counting. I had no idea what macronutrition was. My goal was to get all the fat off as fast as possible. And guys that come to me, hey, I'm 100 pounds overweight, 40 pounds overweight or above. They're like, oh, should I be lifting? Should I be trying to put on muscle? No, your body's already stressed the fuck out. Your body, get rid of the bad mass and then you add good mass.
Yeah. Just got a good comment coming. Eggs, good or bad?
Eggs, they always go back and forth. I'm in the good category.
I'm in the good category. Eggs are one of the.
If you want lower fat, cut the yolk, but the fat from eggs is good for you. So it depends on what you're doing macro wise. But yeah,
I always think nature solved that, Jaren. I think an egg, if you think, it's like almost perfect nutrition in an egg. Nature solved that already. You
to
get
sustain another independent life. So just put that in your body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, eggs are brilliant. I think eggs, best breakfast ever. I've got a recipe on the best eggs breakfast. I absolutely love it.
It's a cheap protein source too. So even if you can't do it, I don't cook with a lot of eggs, but every now and then, for again healthy versions of lean food, I might do a chicken parmesan tonight. So it's ground lean chicken breasts, and then I'll form it in the patties. I will do some sort of like a breadcrumb or something like that, panko crumbs, whatever. Dip it in the egg white, and then you put it in there, and then you air fry it. Don't use any oils. Okay. If I do a non-stick, I'll put a little olive oil or coconut oil on there, gives it that nice coconut crisp. But for eggs, I just use they sell them in the liter bottle. It's just pasteurized egg whites, and you can drink those too. You will get gnarly farts, and you will likely shit your pants in the middle of the night. So like you will be in the middle of a dream and wake up and be like, oh my God, what's that? Be careful with that. But there's ways around that. But most of the time, Joel buys the whole eggs. I just buy the egg whites, and then I use that to cook. Okay. And then remember, if you're cooking healthy, you want to recreate textures. So if you've ever taken an egg white and frothed it, you get like a really nice Miracle Whip type consistency. So if I need to recreate that consistency, egg whites is one of my tools to do that. Egg white is also a binder. Food is chemistry. So a lot of people ask me like, oh, do you miss eating unhealthy food? Well, no, I still eat chicken fried steak. I still eat French fries. I still eat pizza. I just make it myself with whole food ingredients. Yeah. So again, really, I know it's a long-winded answer. I have a tendency to do this, but replace bad habits with good habits, and then start slow. Just do it. Don't eat you already know your bad habits, so just drop them one by one and then replace them with the good habits. So whereas when I was younger, I remember I used to buy graham crackers and get a can of frosting and make graham cracker frosting sandwiches and eat those. Don't do that if you want to be lean. Exactly. So when you're working with addiction, you have the routine. If you've ever been a smoker before, I used to smoke cigarettes. It was never about the cigarette. I never felt good while smoking. It was more like, oh, I'm on my way to work. I hit this stoplight. It's a 3-minute light. Pull my pack out, light it, put my arm out the window. And it was that first puff that satisfied that urge. The rest of the cigarette's kind of like, gross. Why am I doing this? It was the same thing eating my graham cracker and frosting sandwiches. So now instead of graham cracker, I'm laughing when I say it. I can't believe I eat that way. Now in lieu of eating graham cracker frosting sandwiches, it's a whole fruit smoothie with whey protein isolate, or it's the healthy cheesecake that I mentioned. A lot of times I hit my protein with the meat. So if I need to fill in some carbs, it's Rice Krispies, just Rice Krispies. It's pure carb with almond milk and a little bit of stevia. I scratch that sweet tooth.
Yeah, I have that problem because like I did a video on my channel. So I like doing a lot of cooking. I did the 1 meal a day like that you can live off. And I believe in it. It's just basically beef and a few veggies, right? And but the problem is that the amount of calories is so small. You can eat it kind of 4 times a day, absolutely smash your protein goals. And then where do you go from there? when you do eat whole foods, you can eat so few calories that you have a tendency to start thinking, well, I've got so much room left in my calorie, and that's where you can slip up. You then go right. You start eating shit. Then
that's why you start. That's why you start with protein, because protein's satiating. It fills you up.
Yeah,
and then you're like, for me, I have a 2,000 calorie buffer at the end of every day. There's no way I'm going to hit that. I'm already stuffed.
Gee.
And, well, I do a severe deficit during the week, so that way my weekends are open. So here in Mexico, like, I'm not a big drinker. I'll have a whiskey or two and an old fashioned. They're going to put a sugar cube in there. So it's not like I completely eliminate this stuff. It's that 80-20 rule. 80% of the time I'm perfect. And then the rest of the time I can do whatever I want. And there's days where Joel and I did a video recently on the channel where we bought every American pizza chain in Mexico and compared them. We each slammed 2.5, 3 pizzas that day, but I was in a 5,000 calorie deficit for the week. So guess what? Not only did I not gain weight, I actually lost weight. Now I gained water from the fluid retention. And then by Wednesday, if I weigh myself every day, I get what's called the whoosh effect. So like it revs up your metabolism, revs up everything. And then Monday, right back on diet. So your body overcompensates and takes too much fat off because it's still, your metabolism is firing as if you just had 3 pizzas, but all you had was a pound and a half of shrimp that day. So I usually, if I do a binge day, I'll follow it by a full day fast, or which is protein only. And people say, well, oh my God, you don't have any fat and carbs on your Mondays. How can you do that? Well, I got my fat and carbs yesterday. I ate enough fat and carbs for 2 days, so I'm just not going to eat them today. And then on Tuesday, I'm back on track. My metabolism's still revved up. Wednesday, I weigh in. I'm always lower weight-wise, which look up the whoosh effect. My body gets that at least.
So, like, okay, so that's quite a lot actually on diet. But you know,
it is. We can go forever on this. I think maybe make this a series and then start dialing into some more of these questions. I do have a doctor's appointment here soon for
no worries.
him to tell me how fast I recover because I'm protein and hormone and diet optimized. It's like, wow. After my first check-in, he's like, you look like you've already been out of surgery for a month and it's only been a week. I'm like, I know, because I map everything. I chart everything. I know that.
What did you do? What did you have done? What was it?
It was a micro liposuction of the flanks. They couldn't find any fat in my abs because I'm usually 6-pack year round. Did have a little left in my flanks. They took out 500 milligrams of my flanks. Did a fat transfer in the top of my glutes.
Thing you had done?
It's private.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's technically a Brazilian butt lift is what they call it. I say mini lipo because if they take out less than 3 liters of fat, it's technically a mini lipo. Okay. I only had half a liter of body fat left on my flanks. They put that in my glutes. And then now what they're working on, the important part, because my goal wasn't to lose fat. I don't have a lot of body fat. The goal is to tighten the loose skin from when I was obese that was left over. So now I have to do 3 massages a week. They do what's called the carbox therapy, where they inject carbon dioxide in underneath your skin. That leads your body to send more oxygen. I'm actually intentionally going to get lighter. I'm going to let my muscle atrophy a bit, which I'm a mass giant. So even if I don't lift, I still maintain muscle mass. So I'm going to let my muscle atrophy a bit as they're bringing in the loose skin. And then when I get back in the gym, I'll maybe do a 3-week mini bulk just to get back to where I was before the surgery. And that should tighten everything out. So there's a bunch of different things we're doing at one time. Okay. The liposuction was the major medically traumatic side of it, but now I'm doing the follow-up therapy. So we're actually stacking a bunch of different therapies here. I didn't want to do the abdominoplasty because I'm into aesthetics and I didn't want the giant scar across my skin. You'll notice I don't have any tattoos. I think the human body is beautiful. I think it is a perfectly designed vessel. It is the most complex organism known to man, and all of us have one. So might as well take care of it and not fuck it up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've done that question to death, haven't we? But eggs are good. We both agree.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start signing off because I've got we got to head to my appointment.
I was just going to say, Jaren, what are you? Obviously, you help your clients and everything, but where can everyone find you? Why don't you do a little plug of all your services and channels and things?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that when I changed my camera, it knocked my stuff off the screen. So
it's probably because you've still got the comment on. Just take the comment off.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it's like I'm new to StreamYard. I've been using this thing for a few years now. Yeah. So
gone,
Yeah, YouTube, look up Gringo Guides, YouTube at Gringo Guides, or go to Instagram at Jaren Scott. That's my personal Instagram. I do have an at Gringo Guides, no space or special characters. That's for branded content, all the lifestyle, rooftop parties, how to learn Spanish. I review Spanish memes, Spanish news, politics, intercultural dating type topics, all of that is at Gringo Guides. But you can also find any of those on my link tree through my personal Instagram at Jaren Scott. That's also the best way to get in touch with me directly. I use it as a messenger. Got the tab open right here. So I will get back to you eventually. I work a lot too during the day. So I will get back to you eventually. So let me know any questions you have. If you want like fat loss trackers, if you need coaching, if you're interested in taking the conversation a bit deeper, collaboration type opportunities, invite me on your channel. I don't care how big or small you are. I will go on and get out there and talk about really cool stuff with really cool people. So Instagram at Jaren Scott. That's the best place to go with anything you need at all.
Cool. And what are you doing for the rest of the day, Jaren? What are you up to now? Is it like 3 o'clock now, 4 o'clock, 3 something for you guys?
It is 3:30. Yes, right after 3:30 now. I have a live stream this evening at 6 my time, and then I have to go get a follow-up appointment done. Again, they have to do it's like an ultrasound massage because they're trying to tighten the skin up. So yes, I got liposuction. It was only 0.5 kilogram of fat, which means I did a good job on my own. Because you'll get guys like, oh, it's a shortcut, you're cheating. Nope, I've been single-digit body fat now for a long time, and just wanted to get the loose skin taken care of. So it's an ultrasound massage just to make sure everything's healing properly and all that kind of stuff. It usually takes less than an hour, but Mexico City traffic, you never know. And I got to make my live stream by 6. So that's why I'm kind of speeding it along now.
Yeah, no worries. Right. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for all listening. And thank you for your time, Jaren. It's been very entertaining. And everyone, thanks for showing up, whoever's still left. And, come back and watch it again, I guess, when it's all baked into both channels. So, see you all next time.
Yep. Cheers.